All right, everyone, welcome back. Coast to Coast NHL podcast with my main man, Mr. Maverick.
Howdy.
Episode 14. Not too much to discuss of change from last week, but we're here. I think we just discussed a bit off air how we're going to probably just keep going week after week. Might not be as long as other times. Obviously, we're not going to talk about our fantasy league probably any deeper. I don't know if you want to still do that. Actually, I
I
didn't
got a
ask you
couple
that.
things I can throw out there, but it's not going to be anything of significance.
Okay, cool. But here we are, March 25th or 26th now.
25th, yep, another
All
week
the
into this.
all the days are starting to. I don't know about for you, but it's starting to blend together for me. I personally
Yeah,
have not left the house since it's been like 5 or 6 days now. Like I've walked the dog, but that's about it.
yeah, I've walked the dog and I've gone for a couple walks myself, and
Uh-huh.
I've gone to the grocery store twice in the last 2 weeks. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me over the last 2-ish weeks.
I must say, life without sports and not friends gatherings and things like that, life's pretty boring.
Yeah, but
But
I mean, it will make us all kind of appreciate everything that much more afterwards, right? And the one
definitely.
thing that I've kind of, every time I bring it up, it kind of sounds a little bit like, you know, crazy theories or whatever. But I just find that this is the first time in a long time that it's been humanity versus something.
It's very true,
Wars have just been humans versus humans, and it creates strength among those groups of individuals versus each other and unity amongst those people. This is the first thing, at least in modern history
yeah.
or recent history, however you want to say it, where it's like when we come out of this as a as humanity, we're going to be stronger, and there should be more togetherness, and like hopefully there's going to be less of this. I hate to get into like the bullying stuff, but like more people will realize that like we're in this together,
Yeah.
and instead of wasting and spending our time kind of making each other's lives more difficult, I think maybe that it's going to open people's eyes a little bit more to, treating people a little bit better and not wasting times on the little things and not stressing out on the little things and really focusing on what's important and whatnot.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to see how quickly certain things can be put in place and like just the whole society, like this whole, I don't know, I'm sure you've experienced this whole social distancing thing has just been like a for me, like around, it's just been like a flip switch on. Everyone's just like talking about social media's blown up about it, like
Mm-hmm.
with the memes and all that stuff. It's just something that's blown us. It's kind of a shame that at the same time we're taking science's word for this pandemic kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time we're ignoring science and what they tell us about something that's a little more slow. But at the same time, we need to start reacting to it, like bringing it to the whole climate change thing.
Yeah.
This one's a quick moving thing, but like climate change, on the other hand, it's going to be maybe this opens up people's eyes to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a stretch, I know, but
I've had an interesting thought too. That's completely a stretch as well, but it's interesting theory or concept to believe that like, I mean, what if the Earth has its own booby traps in a sense, where like, you know, maybe this virus was certain, depth or below a certain amount of ice frozen that's been frozen
yeah,
for years and years and years. And because global warming got to a certain state, the earth was kind of like, you know, I got to take care of myself. So this thing's going to go
defense
off and kill
mechanism.
people and stop humanity
Yeah,
for X amount of time so that I can, heal my wounds, so to speak. It's an
yeah.
interesting thought to have anyways. I don't know if I believe it, but I've had that thought, and
No,
it's
I think
interesting if that's
yeah.
possible.
It kind of goes into me thinking like just the Earth has its own like it's kind of like its own breathing organism, and it just has these
Mhm.
kind of like a human body has these defense mechanisms against
Mhm.
things that are causing it harm. Maybe the Earth has that same kind of thing.
And I mean, as bad as it is to say, like if the Earth needs to clear, 10% of the people on it, who do you attack? You attack the, unhealthy and the elderly, right? Which it's not fair when it comes to that, but unfortunately, when it comes to a virus, it doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's definitely one of those ones that we haven't seen legs of, because it does, like, even though it's crushing the elderly population, it still has its effects on every
everyone else,
demographic,
yeah,
it
yeah.
seems.
And I
No,
don't
no,
mean to come across
yeah,
insensitive or like,
no, and that
ignorant or anything, but
mhm, mhm.
just trying to be real at the same time.
So you kind of gotta face the music at this point. Like, it is what it is, and we can only. The way
Well,
I
how
look at it is,
long are you kind of bracing for? What's your time frame of where you're like, okay, I'm preparing for like this much time, and anything beyond that's kind of like, okay, I'll get antsy kind of thing.
like, what do you mean, like, and how long we're gonna be at social distancing and no
In this
sports,
kind
or
of
like,
situation, yeah.
I would say at least till the end of April, so like, still another month to go before things start to, maybe they're gonna start allowing some businesses to open again.
Yeah.
I think they're bracing for longer. Definitely, I'm just gonna keep it more. I'm not really want to talk about American politics because I don't know shit. But like with
Hmm.
Trudeau today, he's kind of had a plan financially, at least, for people to apply for 4 months of relief. So
Yeah, but a lot of that's just for mortgages. What about people who rent? People who can't afford to have mortgages rent for the
I don't
most
know if you
part.
heard about what he announced today specifically.
Not for renting, no.
Not really. Yeah, it's more of a, I forget what he called it. It's like the emergency relief credit or something. So
Yeah.
essentially, I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to work. It's
We were watching a bit of it on CP24. They're breaking it down a little bit, and they're just basically saying that you have to apply every month, and you have to prove that you have no other means of possibly financially covering it. So if you have a savings account,
mhm.
or if you have like a second house where you can borrow more on your
uh,
mortgage, you do not qualify, and you have to do that instead. It's only
uh,
for people who have mortgages and committed in and don't have equity, don't have anything, don't have savings
mm,
accounts, don't have anything
yeah,
that literally
I
they'll
didn't
like
hear
lose
that
their
part.
house.
He,
Yeah,
he
that's what they said on CP24
Yeah, the way
anyways.
he was explaining, I'm sure like more details are going to come along, because he said you can't
Probably,
even
yeah.
start applying till like April 6th, which is still like almost 2 weeks away. But I don't know. It's kind of, I know, like, there was a Democrat in the states that had this universal basic income idea, and everyone laughed at him. This was like, that's kind of what he was campaigning on for a while. Is that essentially every single person in America was going to get $1,000 a month or whatever, no matter what, and
Yeah.
it's just for income. And so they all laughed at him, but now it looks like they might be adopting that exact thing, for the next
Yeah.
few months at least. I don't know. It's weird because they had 1 million Canadians, so that's like 1/30th of our population applying for EI in the past
Hmm.
week. So that's
Yeah.
pretty insane. Um,
Yeah. That's
well,
what I'm worried about. I mean, I don't know.
it's gonna
I don't
really
know
test what
with
money
rent and
means, right?
stuff. Well, it is, and it's going to either prove how valuable it is or how invaluable it is. Like, is money actually a real thing when we get into this kind of
Yeah,
global
because
scale? Is it just a number, or is it actually
yeah,
something
because like you see
tangible?
governments around the world like, oh, $100 billion relief, 100 billion here, 100 billion here. They're just like
Yeah.
money, money, money. It's just like, where does it even come from?
Yeah, and who's keeping track and who actually is owed this debt? Like, at one point, will anybody actually be like, "You owe me this money, like give it to me now"? No, it's just going to be like, "Okay, I'll relend it here and then relend it there, just so that the money keeps flowing around."
Yeah, it's a little worrisome that it's a big house of cards that's due to just come collapsing down.
Yeah.
But I guess it's money. They say money makes the world go round. So
And if the thing that I'm worried about is if they don't kind of protect the general civilization, when
uh-huh.
we get through this, people will just kind of be like, you know what? We don't need money. Will, you know what I mean? Like people will just not save. They'll invest, they'll buy, they'll do these other things, but they won't save.
Well, people didn't save to begin with, so.
Well, I know, but the people who did are the ones who are kind of being able to kind of take a little bit more of a hit now,
Yep.
but they're the only ones that can kind of do that. So when they take their hit and then now they're in the boat of everyone else, then what do you do? Who owes what to who?
Yeah, it's very strange because they're trying to flatten this curve or stop the spread from going so fast, but at the cost of everyone's at home from work. No one has money. It's going to take months. That's just to circle back to your question. I'm expecting it to. They canceled the Olympics, which was not supposed to start till July, which I understand. It's a much bigger deal than opening up a few stores around a city.
And everybody's coming from around the world to a centralized place and then dispersing afterwards.
Exactly. So, but
which could
I
create
don't know.
around
Like
too.
just to circle to our podcast and the relevance is, I don't see the NHL finishing this season unless they play in front of no fans. That's the only potential, but I still don't even see that being a potential at this point.
No, like it sounds that, like, logistically speaking, they have discussed the possibility of dropping the All-Star game out of next year. They've talked about dropping that mandatory 5-day break that everyone gets.
Yeah.
And they've talked about squishing the season together. So they said that what the latest they could do is do all the draft and everything in September and basically have September off and then start again in October, or take like half of September and the first week of October off and then kind of start mid-October, late October. So if that's what we're talking about, the playoffs have to conclude by like no later than the first week of September, which means we're now looking at starting no later than the second week of July, probably. And we're talking about squeezing everything in at that point, right? So if we don't have things starting to get up and running by the second week of June, second week of June, we're not having any playoffs in any sport this year.
Trump himself said we're going to be starting to get up and running again by Easter, so.
Yeah, no, that's I think anybody with, a common sense
knows that's not going to happen.
Knows that at least we're looking at 4 weeks, like minimum 4 weeks.
Well, my concern is, my concern is this. If they try to start it up again, say July, I think to think it's possible that this virus stays out of every sports locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens if it just gets back in there again?
Yeah.
And
round two
or
again.
Yeah, and
that's going to be the talk after, right? Is like,
well, the prediction.
It's happened before. What are we going to do to prevent this from happening? And like the simple answer is you can't.
Yeah, every year you hear during the season like a flu going through a locker room or something like that. So and the predictions of this pandemic are that it's gonna go down, and then it's gonna be another boom, and then it'll start to go down, and then there'll be another boom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the model predicts that as we start to we're strict now, and so we're gonna hopefully start to bring it down. But then once we start to be a little more lax again, boom, it'll start to go up again. And I don't know, I don't know how. I think this is gonna have an impact on sports for a very long time. I don't.
A year, 2, 3,
like
4 years.
If you're your average fan going out for a sports game, and now there's this, are you going to a sports game in the next few months? That's what I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how the average person is dealing with this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm very sports centralized, so it's. I don't want to say it's like my world stopped, because I'm still working and stuff. So that's kind of keeping me sane and keeping me with routine and something, some sort of mission at hand, I guess. So it's helping me a little bit kind of remember the days and stuff like that. But some people that I've talked to that don't have that, it's just kind of what do I do?
Well, there's two camps. There's still people that don't think it's anything. And there's a lot of people that I think are freaking the fuck out. Yeah, and there's some middle ground, but I don't know. I'm really sad because this is the typical week where baseball starts.
Yeah.
And no ball. It's one of my favorite days of the year is opening day in baseball. Just watching all the games start. Everyone's at the same record. Everyone has their hopes and dreams ready to go for the season, and there's always some breakout team every year and stuff. It could have been the Jays this year. Who knows, right?
I mean, it's funny because whatever baseball, but I was looking at the Jays roster, and I got MLB recently, and just looking at the teams and stuff, and I kind of like the Jays setup. I didn't think they were a fantastic team, but they're one of those teams that's not how some teams, it's they've got 4 or 5 bats that are amazing, but they've got a couple plugs that is long as you can kind of get to their spot in the order every couple innings, you
You can
know
put
that you
them,
get a
yeah.
bit of relief. The Jays kind of don't really have that guy,
Yep.
and they're all kind of young and up and coming. And then their bullpen is kind of not like, elite shutdown guys, but it was like a bunch of guys that pounded the strike zone that were going to be used in all kinds of different ways. And like, I was excited to watch Montoyo kind of, have his opener and do different things with different pitchers.
Yep.
Plus, each roster opened up another roster spot, right? It went from 25 to 26.
Oh, did I didn't know that.
Yeah, so everybody's carrying an extra body. So either, generally speaking, it's an extra outfielder or an extra bullpen arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that allows a little bit of creativity in a few different areas, right? So I was just kind of excited because I felt like they were a team that like had a bunch of maybes and might be better than you think they are, but not a
Yep.
lot of guys that you thought were going to have bad years. So like I thought they were just going to be that team that was in almost every game, lost a few because they just weren't as talented or they
Yep.
had pitchers kind of learning. But I thought that they were going to be that no easy
Yeah.
loss kind of team.
Exactly. And it's a this is like the best time in sports right now. Baseball's starting, hockey's going to playoffs, basketball's going to playoffs, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and here we are. We're just cooped up in our houses, can't watch shit.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if I think we said this last week too, is if anybody's been putting something off, just go fucking do it. You got 4 to 8 weeks right now to put into anything you want to put into. Getting better physically, mentally,
I think that's one
learning a
thing.
new skill.
Yeah, for me, I've really been focusing on nutrition and diet, and
Mm-hmm.
not so much the exercise. That part can come,
Yeah,
but it's been going well, and no better time to focus on your health than right now, I think.
yeah, exactly. I mean, right now everybody's kind of you're not going to change your money situation. Like everybody, some people will say, I have no money. Well, yeah, go out and get, okay, this might sound bad, but like go out and get a job or something. You know what I mean? Or, I lost my
Grocery
job
stores,
and
man,
now I
they need
just,
everyone right now. I
well,
mean,
that's true. There are some people, but I
worst case
mean,
scenario.
like those people who generally, maybe have the opportunity but aren't seeking it
Mm-hmm.
is maybe what I'm trying to say. Um, though there's no people in that group right now.
Yeah,
Like you're either kind of screwed and at the mercy of everything,
yeah.
or
You're the lucky one that has some income
yeah,
coming in, and
yeah.
you're
Like I'm so thankful I have a job right now. Like
beyond.
if I didn't, I'd be trying to move, and during this time, like, hey, yeah, I can't have friends come help me or come help, but stay 6 feet away by moving all my stuff and touching everything, and you know what I mean. Like it's not an ideal time for people to be moving on many fronts as well. So it's like
Yeah,
it'll be interesting in some scenarios for people who can't pay rent. Like, will people, as a landlord, would you prefer to have somebody be like, hey, I'll give you half the rent and not just have half the money coming in and not deal with having to try and get somebody in and, post everything online, which then you can't meet with people or have people go and inspect it. And then all of a sudden you have like a unoccupied building for a while. Like, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, what's better? Right. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more disputes or frustrations between tenants
yeah.
and
There's no
landlords
playbook. That's the
here.
biggest thing with this. There's no
Mm-hmm.
playbook. No one's been in this situation before. This
Yeah.
somewhat happened 100 years ago, but travel wasn't as prevalent, and like so it didn't spread this way. And first of all, people didn't understand it at all. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't social media to just be like, oh, this is happening over here, this is happening over here, this is how I
Yeah.
feel over here, this is a. It was just a little bit more of, oh, everyone seems to get sick and die, but we don't know why. That was like a
But
hundred.
even back then, you ask stories from different parts of the world. Like, if you take this exact situation, but you correlate it back to the last time that this kind of comparable thing happened, you take Italy, for example. You ask somebody who has Italian heritage, like, how was it? They're going to be like, it was the worst thing. It was the devil, right? And not that it's not. But then you ask somebody in maybe Canada or, like, I don't know, some different parts of the world that really aren't being hit by it very, very much because of different climates and stuff like that. Like depending on different parts of the world and that heritage that passed those stories down because you don't have social media,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be different as well. Where now it's like, yeah, it's good and bad, but here's where it's getting it the worst compared to
Yeah, this will
here.
be documented unless whatever happens to wipe all the information off the planet.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
seems like it's something that will be documented for a long time now.
And I was reading article about the North Sentinel Islands?
No.
It's the last or one of the last known unchanged,
Oh yeah,
how do
yeah.
you say it, like
Uncivilized, like
cultures or
yeah.
civilizations.
No contact.
But anybody who tries to come in and help them, they kill like on the spot. Like they're
Yeah.
not open to any kind of help or anything like that. And they're just saying like if something like this gets onto an island like that, even though they're in the middle of nowhere, like that could just wipe that whole civilization out after being there for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years untouched.
Yeah.
It's kind of, and like how many animals, like different types of animals, or could maybe go extinct, and how will that impact the food chains and environments around it and stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
going to be so many different layers to this thing once it
It's,
continues to
it's gonna be
evolve.
unraveling for years. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's crazy. Maybe this is why the government was looking for Mars or somewhere else.
Elon Musk was thinking ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we might as well try and get to some sort of sports take on this and take a little bit of a break out of this doom and gloom, right?
Yeah, for real. Unfortunately.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about, really, but there's obviously going to be some stuff that we can kind of attack moving forward. Like, obviously, there are some players who have played their last game, but we haven't done the research yet to figure out, that list of players. But one, I'm looking at Carolina right now, Justin Williams. How much would it suck for him? Comes back mid-season, signs, plays a few games, and this happens.
Free money for him.
Free money for him, yeah, but like a pretty big waste of time for him as well, right? And for his family. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get hockey like we talked on earlier. I don't think we're gonna get any sports this season. I think that everything's gonna kind of just start fresh in September.
I would think the best chance of there being sports would be baseball or MLS.
Yeah.
Um,
Or golf.
Golf, yeah. It's kind of
Golf to me seems like the most likely one to like be or least affected or less affected.
Yeah, I guess because you're in a group of two when you're out there. You got you got your caddies, so maybe a group of
You
four.
just ban them from the clubhouse, right? Nobody can gather in the clubhouse or buy food or stuff like that. You just everybody just out on the course. You keep it to 2 or 4 people per hole or whatever.
I know the biggest gambling market right now, people are gambling on marbles. I don't know if you've seen those marble races.
Yeah.
It's sad when, right?
Well, I mean, there's different layers, right? Some people need that. Some people need something to not lose their mind. Some people need it to freaking get an income, right? Some people are gambling their money away to try and just live.
Well, to be honest, right now, like me, I'm heavy into the poker world. Mm-hmm. Online poker, I think I might have touched on this last week. It's up even more. It's like a 500% increase in traffic.
Yeah.
And I've been playing the games. There's just people, I don't know what they're thinking. They're like, must be super desperate or something, but they're just punting money away.
Like chasing. Just going all
straight gambling, yeah. Like they're not your typical online grinders that were here a month ago. There's a large margin of people that you can tell are somewhat new. It might have to do with like casinos shutting down, right?
I got a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
From that, do you think, let's say hypothetically, this kills the rest of the seasons and everything kind of starts fresh in September, October?
Yeah.
Do you think that you could almost consider esports on the same level as real sports?
Oh yeah, that's what I've been kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like this is a huge time. That's why I kind of touched on it earlier in this conversation that sports aren't. It's gonna be hard for sports to be the same again. How do they make NHL into like esport, like stadium watching kind of thing? Like it's really hard.
But you don't. You have people tune in online on their own screens or tablets in their home, on their shitter, whatever. You don't put them in a stadium. That's the problem. Real sports, that's why sports isn't working right now, is because people can't gather. Esports, you can just put it online and you can have thousands of people watching. Like If you played the games online and you had the same amount of fans tune in, you'd have 10 times the amount of people tune in than just people tuning in through stadiums and local like
Yeah, the thing with
places and stuff.
the thing with esports is they do have like the big tournaments and the like championships and that. But they do
Yes.
gather all in one spot because
Mhm.
there is the issue of like the internet being crap and
Yeah, but I'm saying there's ways around that. There's alternate ways to still get that accomplished
yeah.
in a way where you just can't
No,
accomplish
esports has been growing
sports.
massively over the past few
Yeah.
years, and it's only going to get bigger because of this.
Well, they were saying that I can't remember which team it was. I want to say it was like Nashville or Minnesota or something. They had done like an NHL 20 simulation or
Yeah,
simulation or whatever,
I heard about this.
and like did full periods and stuff, and then you could tune in and like watch it. It was just a simmed
Yeah,
NHL game, but they had a bunch of people tune in and watch it, and like we're tweeting, "Oh, what a goal by this guy!" Even though it was just two computers playing each other. You know what I
yeah. Like
mean?
I'm surprised that more team like just do that. Get your schedule to exactly where it would have been today or where the season stopped and start simulating at like how the season would have ended or something.
Hmm.
There would have been
Hmm.
definitely an audience for that because
Yeah.
people they want their sports back.
Yeah, yeah. I've just been playing my sports. Like I kind of lost my enjoyment there for a bit on PlayStation.
Yeah,
I only really played shooter games, Sniper Elite. I love sniper stuff.
yeah,
So I kind of got lost in that game for like 6 or 8 months there, where that's all I would really play. And the occasional game of golf. But now baseball and hockey, I'm just like, yeah, I'm down.
How you said you got the show right?
Yeah.
How is that? How do you find that one?
I've always enjoyed playing baseball the most. Like if I can sit down and pick one, if I can only pick one game to play for by myself moving forward, it would be baseball.
Yeah,
I love the pitching. Like I
yeah,
love, I would prefer to pitch than hit, even though I love both and I love the game because they're so different. Yet you get to do both at the same time. So like it's kind of just an enjoyment factor for me. I just like baseball, but it's really nice.
yeah.
I use the pure analog settings, so
Okay.
it's all like pure feel and stuff too. The follow through of your pitches and the backstride and follow through for your swing and everything,
Yeah.
like where you follow through and everything affects it. Like I love it. I think it's fantastic. They did a few minor tweaks that really have made it nice. And when's the last one you've played?
I've never played the show.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I was talking. It might have been last week. I was talking about this. I always played the 2K MLB games.
Okay. Yeah, 2K
And it was
sucks.
the last one I played was when Tim Lincecum was on the cover. So that was like
Yeah.
8 years ago or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was only ever a show guy. I never played any other
I
baseball
didn't have
games.
PlayStation back when it was only
Yeah.
on. It might
I think
still
this
only
is
be
the
on.
first year they've launched it non PlayStation.
Okay, yeah. I've
So
always
I think that
would have preferred to play that one, but I only had
Mhm.
Xbox, so
Yeah.
I was
It's
stuck
funny
playing.
because I've back when I was younger, like out of high school,
Mhm.
I worked doing some like custom kitchen work and some fencing and decking and stuff. And we had a shop with some of my buddies, and we had a mezzanine up top, like a balcony where we had a big screen on the wall and some couches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was fun because we created a character. We created characters, and like when I first brought it there, I created like myself. And then they're like, "Oh, well, it's not really, that fun to play as you. Can we like make a quick character or something?" And since like there's like 4 or 5 of us who always would spend like all of our time there, so at any given time, anybody was playing it. So it was cool because like we all were working on the same character, but like I'd be like, oh, "Okay, I'm going to work," and come home like shower, eat, and then head back to the shop to hang out. And like somebody else over like 3 people had played all day. So they're like 30 games. They're like a month past where I had last seen where they were. But
Yeah.
when you get all your points and stuff, the career modes, we went through like 4 years,
Wow.
5 years in like no time. But it was funny because the one name that they used this other year, they just for some reason didn't have that name in like the database, so we had to change it. So and then the third year we had it came back, so we actually created both. and it was funny because like those characters I still create to this day,
That's funny.
as like the guys that like were built during that era. So it's funny because I create them and like I always like the managing
Yeah, the managing
modes.
part was always my favorite part. Stuff
Yeah.
too, doing like the
You
off
like to
season.
manage, set the lineups, do some trades, do the scouting, hire and fire people.
Mm-hmm.
That I like playing the games too, but I like doing all that as well. And I like tinkering with all the like sliders and the settings and
Yeah.
like I play with everybody's like attributes, so like the overall ratings and stuff. If I don't believe they're quite accurate, I'll go in there and tinker with
Oh,
those a
really?
little
I
bit
didn't
as
know you could
well.
do that with like the players that come in the game.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know you could do
And
that.
it's the reason why I like the show the most when it comes to that is every other sports one, at least that I can remember slash that I play, you like create the rosters and then you start the mode and then it is what it is.
You can't change it.
And
Okay,
you
yeah.
can't change it after that. The reason why I like the show is that you can actually, the way I do it is I actually take control of every team, but I only play the Jays.
Yeah.
So like if there's other teams, like for example, I don't know, like the Rockies or somebody who I kind of like the Rockies, so they're not a good example. But like let's say take Detroit right now. Detroit's a garbage team, right? And I don't really care about them, so I
Yeah.
take anything that's worth anything off Detroit and I like trade them to other teams that need that kind of player. So, like for example, if somebody really needs a first baseman,
Give him
I
Miggy.
might trade them Cabrera or something.
Yeah.
Or like if somebody needs a pitcher, I might trade them Boyd or something like that. But I like it because you can make those trades, but then you can also go during the season and continue to edit guys.
Mm.
So like after a season, like based on guys' potential, somebody might move from like, an 85 up to like a 94. And you're like, okay, well, that's not realistic. So let's just push him back down to like an 89. So like you can kind of like mess around with things. And when things aren't quite, or if you get 2 or 3 years down the road where things kind of don't make sense anymore, or
Mm-hmm.
you have like all of these created guys, you can still make some teams worth playing and still get some fun out of it. Where generally speaking, I find after like 2 years, I kind of get bored of everything. And then all of a sudden, half the league's created guys that you've never heard of that aren't real guys. And then you're like, I'm kind of bored.
I don't
That's
think I
me,
ever get
anyways.
through a full season in baseball games just because of the
I,
162 games, man.
I'm almost a month in right now. And I've only had the game for like a week, 2 weeks.
I think NHL is usually the only game I actually finish a whole season
Yeah.
before, and that was when I was living with a roommate, and all we did was play that fucking game.
Yeah.
I think the
It's
second,
funny.
I was just
I
gonna
was
say
going
the
to say
second
that
season we went like 75 and like 7.
that's usually my record. My record, I usually have like 8 or 9 losses, but they're
But
usually pretty
it's
close
the
games.
losses are like 1-0 or 2-1 when
Yeah,
your goalie lets in 2 goals on 5 shots or something.
or like you pass it off to the back door to the wrong guy and they put it in the empty net. And you're like, damn it, I fucked that up. I find though that like when I play hockey, I really enjoy like the pureness of hockey games.
Hmm.
So when I do it, I turn the sliders all the way down to like the slowest you can possibly play, so that you're like actually skating down the ice and you're like, oh, he's skating here and oh, he's going for the deke. Oh shit, he just got rocked, or like
Oh
huge
shit.
deke, and as opposed to just like pressing buttons and button mashing and like running into each other 1,000 times and be like, oh, and he scored. You know what I mean? Like I like the slow, oh, you get in there and you actually lift the stick and steal the puck as opposed to just like, a bunch of water bugs flying around in and out of the zone and you're like, oh, cool, you just scored. I don't even know what happened. I like to slow it way down.
Yeah.
So when I
I don't
play
think
online,
I don't fool around with those kind of things. I've never tried that.
yeah, if I'm gonna play the game, I usually do the manage mode and then fuck around with everything else to make it how I really enjoy it,
Yeah.
which kind of pisses off some of my friends because like if we play offline NHL, it's like on my settings. It's like no one's used to it but me. And like I'm really good with them, but they're also really realistic, so they're fun. So
Yeah.
like people are like, oh, it's fun, but I'm not used to it, but you're good at it, so I don't really want to do it. So let's do what I'm used to. And then I'm not used to it, so I'm not very good. And then it's like
Makes sense. Makes sense.
so, but we'll see. I'm gonna start playing online more for NHL because can't go out. So find a way to play with some of my buddies. So
Yeah. For real.
we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I think that's pretty much it for topics for me.
Yeah,
Anything else
like
on
I don't
you?
know. There's not too much. It's good to catch up, and I haven't talked to you too much this past week. I know you threw out that one question. I meant to
Hmm.
get to it. I just never did about
Yeah.
my all-star lineups. Um,
Hmm.
there's
Oh, I guess I didn't finish that too either. Eh?
yeah. So I think for me, there's a couple guys on there that I don't think were mentioned yet. Like for on defense, I would 100% had have Ed Jovanovski on there.
Good pick.
He
Yep.
was one of my favorites growing up. I was
Yep.
defenseman, and I liked the Canucks growing up when they had
Yep.
Bertuzzi and all them. So I
Yep.
want to give a shout out to him. He wasn't really mentioned in our group.
I forgot about him. Good call.
Yeah, but yeah, I think a lot of the other ones were really hit on, like Sakic, Lemieux, a lot of Canadian guys.
Yeah.
That
I wasn't a huge Sakic guy. Like I respected the hell out of him, but like,
I really liked the Avalanche when they first came into the league.
yeah.
I had a jersey and everything. So
I had
Sakic,
a bunch of friends who were Avalanche fans, and I was kind of like, eh.
I liked Hayduk.
Yeah, Milan Hajduk.
Yeah,
I was a Wah guy, right? I'm always
yeah,
a
I
goalie
liked
guy,
it.
so like, I like the Avalanche because of Wah, and like, I kind of just
He would have been one of my goalies if I'm making the
yeah,
lineups too.
Wah, Hasek, and
Hasek was my other goalie that I was thinking of.
yeah.
Um,
I wasn't the biggest Brodeur fan. I more so respected and hated him than
yeah,
liked him,
me too.
but
I don't know. I think he was a big victor of the trap game back then too.
yeah.
Before.
Actually, just now that I look at the thing behind me, Luongo was one of my all-time faves too for goalies. Canucks Luongo, not
Oh
Florida
yeah, he's
Luongo.
actually a lot of people hate him around here. It's weird. I don't know why.
Yeah, but that's not really fair.
Yeah,
I don't think.
yeah, I don't think so either. I think he's great goalie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't
But
know.
yeah, I'll get back to that. I realized I started that and I got so excited about that, and I started making a list.
Yeah,
And when I got to my list, I was joking about it in our chat group, but right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of forwards. I couldn't get it down less than 8 lines, and I kept struggling and struggling and struggling. I'm like, do I get it down and just say fuck it, or do I just post like 3 teams
no,
worth
you
of
gotta get it
players?
down.
And I'm just like, I can't. Like, I find it so difficult. I mean, the centers were easy for me because like I pushed some centers out to wing, but like Kachuk is a center wing, right? Didn't Keith Kachuk play center in
I don't know.
Arizona?
I think so. Yeah, you like
I think
Keith
he was a
Kachuk,
center
eh?
in Arizona, but he was a winger when he went to St. Louis.
Loved Keith Kachuk in the old school NHL games. He always had
Yeah,
the hammer and the shot.
yeah, yeah. He was amazing. But my center ice was Sundin, Datsuk, Lemieux, Gretzky, and Kachuk. Those are my
Yes, yeah.
centers.
My Penguins bias is gonna have Crosby in there for sure.
Yeah. And then I had Forsberg for wingers. I'll just list off some of them. But Forsberg, Lindros, Messier, Wendell Clark, Bure, Nolan, but Nolan on San Jose, Yager, Correa, Shanahan, Roberts, Domi.
See, one of my fourth line, I said it in the group, was Gary Roberts, the playoff version of that one year where Sundin was hurt. That's the
When
one.
he was a monster.
Where he single-handedly carried them through the one
Yeah.
round at least.
Yeah. And my number one defense that I'd have to have out there would definitely be Pronger.
Hmm. I'm gonna have Al McInnes in there.
Yeah, I have to have McInnes. I wasn't a big fan of him, but the fact that he almost single-handedly changed the slapshot game,
I just
I have to
remember him
put him.
growing up year after year winning that hardest shot. So
Yeah.
like he just stands out as a childhood monster. I don't really
Hmm.
remember watching him play games. I just remember him
Hmm.
at All-Star games slapping
Yeah,
them around.
big guy for me was Paul Coffey. I loved Paul Coffey and Scott Stevens.
Tony Amonte was a.
Yeah, Monte. Yeah.
These are all just.
Actually, I should have put Roenick too. I hated Roenick back in the day, but then I came to respect him and enjoy him.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my goalie list. So I had Waugh, Waugh, Potvin, Hasek, Price, Frederick Anderson, Broder, Cujo. That's my goalie list.
A bunch of Leaf goalies.
Yeah, but I either love or hate Leaf goalies. Like Cujo, Potvin, and Freddie. Love, 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 love. Almost every other goalie who's ever dressed up for them that I've watched, hate. I mean, I guess I could say I like Belfour too, but
He was
everyone outside
so
of
done when he was there.
he had like 1, maybe 2 good years out of the 4. I think he was in Toronto.
Yeah.
5, maybe he was in Toronto, and then he wasn't the
Was
greatest
he
in
there
Toronto. Like
that
Chicago.
long? 5 years.
I could be remembering it wrong. Let me see. Belfour. How long was he in prison? No, I'm just kidding.
Was he in prison? I didn't even know he was.
He got he got booked a couple weeks ago for being intoxicated in public. 3 years. My bad.
Still, I didn't think of that.
3 years and then plus the lockout in between. So he was a Leaf for 4 years, but he only played 3.
So the lockout pretty much ended him.
Yeah, and then he came back for 58 games with the Panthers and only won 27, so not even half of them. But I mean, in Toronto, his stats were after the lockout, he was no good. But the 2 years before the lockout, he was 2.26 or 2.13 goals against, so pretty solid. And a 922 and 918 save percentage. So nice. Just a smidge below like elite, but pretty solid for his time. I respected him more in Chicago. He was more even Dallas for some time.
Oh yeah, I forgot he played there.
Yeah, Eddie the Eagle.
I have to add Mike Modano into my list somewhere. It's gonna be hard. So many like, just because there's always like one player per team that almost stands out like the whole way.
And that's why I asked this question, because I know it's gonna be hard for people, but I also kind of asked it to be honest because it almost helps you understand not how people became fans, but kind of like everyone has their influences, right?
Yeah.
And if we all had the same influences, then what the hell would be the point of having a conversation? So it'd be, and the reason why I asked is because there's some guys that are in the group that I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like even Nick's list, I was excited to see Nick's list because like I only started talking sports with Nick let's say in the last 10 years. So like anything outside that, I have no idea what he knows or what he watched or what influences he has. So it's just neat to kind of see what people say. And like for me, I was like, oh, Datsuk and Sundin, and some people would be like, okay, whatever about those people. Some people would be like, oh yeah, they're amazing, right? So like,
it's just interesting. Neither of those players would make my team. Mm-hmm. Sundin, like I understand his relevance for Toronto. He never really.
Sundin, if he actually had,
a team
line mates, other than the 1 or 2 years he had McGillney ride with him, and like when he had all the over the hill guys and whatnot. He made the careers of Ponikarovsky and Antropov.
Yeah.
Like he made those guys careers. And like it just sucks because it's like had he had the support that he could have had, he maybe could have won an MVP, or maybe he could have won a scoring championship, or maybe he could have put up more. He's already the lead, like one of the leaders in all of the point categories for the Leafs, and overtime goals and game-winning goals and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, he's just there for so long, right?
He's still number 2 in the all-time shootout goal, or 3 in the all-time shootout goals scored list for the Leafs.
I thought that was funny when you told me that. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's incredible. How long has it been? Like 8 years? Jeez.
Yeah. But, I think if we're going to do this again next week, we should come up with some sort of like game like that where we maybe come up, maybe we can even like break down our list, and if you submit it before, we can submit it before to each other. And then I can like do a visual while we're talking about the list or something.
Instead of making a team, I think we should do like an ideal team. So like, for example, who would be your top, like who would be your first line left wing? Who would be your like checking third line center? Who would be your backup goalie? Who would be your, penalty killing defenseman? That kind of thing, as opposed to just being who's your top 6D. Because I bet you if you asked me, or if we asked each other this question now versus 3 months from now versus 6 months from now, we'll probably come up with different answers each time.
Yeah.
So if we do it that way, we might be able to actually, break it down and
give us something to talk about too.
But give us something to.
I don't anticipate too much of a different story coming.
I don't think so.
Next week things are going to slow down, if anything. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we can kind of just include this in this podcast, since we're not really going to have fantasy updates per se.
I haven't posted our last 2 fantasy videos. I don't really know why. I guess I should just do it, right?
Do you want to maybe just cut this off then, and then we can just put the 3 together and
Yeah.
or whatever?
Let's just wrap this one up. I don't know what we're gonna call this one, but
Yeah.
all right. Peace.